Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 229.
Oh, hurrah for that.
Nearly into the roaring 30s.
Yes.
Yes,
Very
yes.
exciting.
How are you, Nick?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, too.
Excellent.
Full of energy.
Marvellous. Yes,
Bouncing
it's
off the
entirely
walls.
Unnatural. Don't do it. It's weird and unpleasant.
No, I feel great. Either the vitamins are kicking in or this is an episode.
Yes, or the drugs are.
It's an episode within an episode. Yeah, I'm leaning towards that now.
Yeah.
Good. Any poisonings this week?
I don't believe so.
No.
No, well, you apparently.
No, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Okay.
I didn't have any wheat this week,
Overdose
so I'm
of
feeling
Valium
good.
or something going on there.
Just let me be me, would you?
No, it's a terrifying thing. We've never seen it before.
But no other poisonings that you know of?
Probably not.
No, it's good. No, we have our cocktails-ish.
Yes.
I have a gin and tonic.
And I have a glass of wine.
You have a glass of wine. Also, happy Thanksgiving to all those who celebrated. Herpy Turkey Day, basically.
Herpy turkey day.
Herpy Turkey Day.
Herpy Turkey
Or don't have the herpes turkey. No, famously bad.
That's a bad turkey.
No, that's a bad turkey. It's a sexy turkey,
Yeah.
but it's a bad
It's a
turkey.
turkey who's had a lot of fun, but it's a bad turkey now.
Exactly. But I hope your turkey was not riddled with disease. But yes, speaking of lovely family dinners,
Speaking of people riddled with disease,
I think it's time for us to thank our delicious, healthy Patreon subscribers who are not riddled with disease. You've got me broken, Nick. Okay.
thank you very much. This week to Hannah Lamond.
To Shauna, killing mice, butler. Yay!
The Killing Mice was to a tune.
Yes, because I think they may be nodding to the episode about Mary Piercy.
Oh, you and your memory. To Heather B.
To Maddie Atkinson.
To Bruce Hislop.
To Jill.
To Amy Haddon.
And to Natasha Key. Thank you, delicious, sexy Patreon subscribers. Well done for those referencing episodes. Well done for those who have good names. All of you.
All of you, well done.
Well done. We had fun on Patreon this week. Yes, it was a chilling story. A gruesome murder. A headless and handless corpse
Yes.
was found. Ooh, what happened? Yeah, no, it was a good one. That was a thinker about someone, how their defence.
How they
it,
get away with it, indeed.
how they got away. Well, they tried to. But
They tried to.
yeah.
Tried to many ways.
Many ways. If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, please do consider joining us on patreon.com/The Poisoner's Cabinet, where you get extra episodes from us every single week. It is a great place to support the show. You can also listen to every single episode that we do, including the main ones, ad-free. It is completely flexible. You can join, you can cancel if you wish to. There's loads of bonus content on there. There's higher tiers if you want gift packs and extra episodes and more things and loveliness.
So much.
Oh my God, it's so much fun. And a reminder as well, on this main episode, it's a podcast, there will be adverts in it. You might hear a couple more adverts during the show. That's just what supports us, and that's what keeps us going. But if you don't want to hear adverts, please do go over to patreon.com where you can listen to everything ad-free. Well, Nick, are you ready?
I probably.
Would you drink cocktails and talk about poison? Or we could drink poison and talk about cocktails.
Fine.
Fine. One of those?
Fine.
All right, shall I pick?
Okay.
Let's go with the first one. Hooray, hooray, hooray. It is
Marvellous.
my story this week, and we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week.
No.
This week's secret ingredient is some sails.
Sails.
Sails as in the boat variety.
In a boat variety.
Not as in the winter
as in
sails.
bargains.
No, not in bargains. No, not as in this is 50% off. That would be weird.
Would it?
Well, I mean, we've done a lot of weird shit.
I can imagine someone being bludgeoned in next over a Boxing Day jumper or
Yes,
something.
over that box of pants. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
This is a lovely outfit that I shall wear for our office outing. It's a glittery jumpsuit, which we'll all be wearing the same sort of thing.
So, yeah.
So with sails as the ingredient, what have you come up with?
So with sails,
Sails.
yes, I thought boaty.
Boaty.
Boaty, generally on sails. On
Yes, there are oldie timey, but still
boats.
newy ones
Well,
as well.
your picture also indicated oldie timey.
Very
So-
specific sails as well, actually.
Crimson sails. They were red ones. I haven't gone for one of those.
Oh, okay.
What we're gonna have?
Okay.
We're gonna have a sailor's swizzle.
A sailor's swizzle.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Good.
That's good. That works.
I'm glad.
A sailor, swizzling.
Swizzling.
His name has got sail in it. It
Absolutely.
all fits together
Exactly.
beautifully.
It's all meant to be.
Wonderful. I think it is high time for us to sink into the Poisoner's Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm, so we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick, the sailor's swizzle.
Yes. Now, I must admit, I have a
what
confession
now?
to make. That it's less of a swizzle.
Okay.
I may have to rename this one. Generally, the recipe calls for this to be served just like not shaken or anything, just over lots of crushed ice, and then using like a long straw to do
To swizzle. A swizzle stick. Yeah, a swizzle stick.
I don't have any long straws.
Yeah.
I don't have any crushed ice.
Right.
So I decided to get the dilution needed for this. That's what you get. I'm going to shake it.
Nice.
So I'm going to call this a shaking sailor.
Oh, right. Okay. So a sailor's swizzle, but now it's a shaken sailor.
Now it's a shaking sailor.
Oh, okay. Well, the sailors do shake.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They have the DTs. And also sea shakes, famously. Yes, that's how they describe it.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's quite nice. And also, we sort of prefer not crushed ice.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well.
Yes, and I thought I could get some ice
You
cubes
could get
and
the hammer
then get the
out.
hammer out, but it takes time, and I'm bored.
You make that bored. Bored.
Didn't even have any starting, and I was already bored of the idea.
Right, great. Well, I hope the story will liven you up. But so it's very ruby red, and it has a dehydrated lime.
It is perfectly entirely hydrated.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Oh, it looked like a dehydrated lime. I thought you'd got the air fryer.
One day I will dehydrate. I will go to Sainsbury's and buy all the limes and dehydrate them.
Right, the shaken sailor.
Shaking sailor.
Shaking sailor. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks good. Well, you've twisted it. So let's see.
Well,
okay.
well,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Okay.
Ooh,
Oh, I like that. Oh, it smells great.
good for you, Mr. Sailor.
That's a good sailor. Good sailor.
Good sailor.
Good sailor. He's shaking for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wants
He's
more of
having-
these.
He's having a grand old time.
He's got the power upon him. He's getting the vapors. Oh, that's nice.
That's a nice cocktail.
That is. Ooh. Straight back in there. My goodness.
That is good.
And I will say,
It also feels festive.
it is Christmas in a
I don't know
glass.
if it's just because of the red, but it feels to me festive.
It really does.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've put Christmas in this glass.
There is no.
Did you add some Christmas?
There's liquidized Christmas.
I'm so glad, because this is perfect. Guys, now add this to your party list. Whatever is in it. I don't
Yes.
know. It could have chartreuse in it for all I know. Fuck it. Ooh, tasty.
nice.
Okay, so you've got a slice of lime in there, so I'm going to guess lime.
Yes, there's some.
And I'm
limes.
going to guess another ingredient, even though I definitely know what's in it,
Yes,
because you made me bring
Yes,
it.
because I said, Sinead, have you got this? Can you bring some?
It's port,
Port. Yes.
which is very Christmassy.
Which is also Christmassy, and a drink that I would never drink. I'm not a fan of port. I'm not a port
You're not a
drinker.
fan of port?
I'm not a fan of port.
I never drink port.
But I know Ben likes port, so I thought perhaps you would have some.
Ben loves a fortified wine. He does. And it's only at Christmas it comes out. And he just comes in and his typical way, he goes, you know what? Fucking love a port.
Yeah.
When he has a few ports, and then he's like, "Woo!" And I know port very good for shippy kind of story
Oh yes, yes.
and stuff, sails and all
Sails,
of that.
port, starboard.
Pass the port to the
As in
left.
port, yes, as in going into port, yes.
That would
That
be
comes
it.
two-
What?
there's two
Wait,
ports.
what?
Like
No, you
port as in
pass the
harbour.
Yes,
Port.
that too. But also pass the port to the left. Left? Pass the port to port.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The way you pass the port is supposed to be, it corresponds with what's on the boat.
I have no idea.
So port and starboard is the left, and you pass the port to the left.
Port and starboard on the left.
Ports,
Both of them.
Yes, they're both over there. It's a shit ship. That's why I keep sinking.
They're both-
Because they're ratted on port.
If you go left enough, it becomes the other side.
Someone is swinging port going, right, left, starboard, left. Okay. Anyway, port.
Port, there's
is
port
in
in
there.
it, yes, well done. Well done
So-
for guessing that.
So there's port and lime. What else? Okay, but there's a hint of Christmas.
There's other things in there.
So is there cinnamon in this?
No.
Is there something spicy?
Yeah, yes.
Not the pimento dram?
Indeed it is.
Yeah, yeah, bad motherfucker.
Yes,
Yes, all
indeed.
spice.
All
All
spice.
spice. Anything else?
Yep.
How many?
One.
One. Booze.
A booze.
A booze.
Oh, well, and two then if you're going not booze.
Like sugar syrup
Yeah,
or something?
sugar syrup.
Yeah. Boo. Right, so port, starboard, port, lime, pimento dram. What would go with all of that? It's not gin.
No.
Not gin?
No.
Rum?
rum.
Oh, I was
Nice
guessing.
golden rum.
Ooh, deliciousness.
Again, sailory.
Sailory.
It's a sailor in a glass.
Crushed.
If you squeeze the sailor, this is what would come
This
out.
is what would come out. It's surprisingly delicious. While you shout while you're at trial. Very good. Oh, that's so good.
Lovely. I'm surprised. I thought port. But
Well,
damn good.
port in a cocktail, I was dubious about.
Yeah.
I was like, what monstrosity will befall us?
Yum.
But quantities, like small amount of port, or
No, 2/3 of an ounce.
Ooh, that's quite hefty.
Or 1.5 of the rum, 2/3 of the port, half of sugar, and 1/3 of pimento. This is a wee bit of the spice,
Ooh,
but it comes through. And and half a lime.
delicious. Well, most people will probably have those ingredients apart from the pimento.
Pimento might be a bit of a weird thing.
But if you don't have it, this is your sign to get it in for Christmas.
Yes, it's a good Christmassy wine.
If you do want a Christmas drink or a spirit and you want to splash out and you've built up the cabinet already, it's a great one because you can have it just a little tot of it. It's quite
yeah, indeed.
it's quite peppery.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry,
it
I'm using the word
comes-
peppery, but it's quite it's
it
like
comes
that
in
kind
quite
of
small bottles as well, so
Yeah.
you're not buying a massive litre bottle of it and things.
yeah. But mix it in with some other stuff.
It's-
Delicious.
It's a tasty, tasty thing.
Oh, I'm so happy. I wonder what this would have been like though with the crushed ice. I'm not convinced.
Oh yeah, because they're meant to be, say, the ingredients just all go in your glass. Because I shook this to get the solution. So just, tall glass, crushed ice, everything in the glass.
And swizzle it
And
like
then
that.
it's swizzled around.
I think
Well,
it could work.
I think, yeah.
If you want it to last longer, to be fair, compared to us, then having it in the crushed ice will keep diluting it,
Yes.
so you'll sip it over a longer amount of time. I think your version of
But
it
I think
is
this is lovely.
absolutely outstanding. Oh my god, a solid gold cocktail.
Nicely done.
Well,
Yeah.
with the shaking sailor, who once sailed a swizzle, firmly in hand, guiding him because he's all over the place. Would you like a story?
I think it's about time we did.
Oh, hurrah. So we've lent heavily on the sailor theme.
There better
and
be a boat involved.
there should be a boat involved, hopefully. But there's other stuff involved as well.
Okay. Some
For-
ropes.
So,
Cannons.
Cannons, no.
Oh, boo.
No, but it's a cracking story.
Bluebeard the pirate.
Many people thought Bluebeard was a
Exactly.
pirate. Loads of people going, was he
just
not
me.
a pirate?
Not just me.
No. No, we have a story that has been requested again and again from people on social media, messaging us on TikTok saying, will you do this story? And it's crazy kind of because really it's a story that's part legendary, but there's plenty of sources. So it's all absolutely true. But it's a great one. It's a woman, one of our badass women, and her story that mixes political upheaval, courtly rows, lots of mad shit on the high seas,
Nice.
and sweet, sweet revenge. Yes, this week we are telling the tale of Jeanne de Clisson, the Lioness of Brittany.
Oh, yes.
So you're familiar?
I'm familiar with, in research for this, I've come across her. I have not delved into it, but she was on my list.
She's a name and she's a figure, and there's pictures that
Yeah.
get circulated a lot in those like super quick kind of reels and stuff of like, these women from history. Because her story is incredible.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. A lot of it is people passing on legend and
Yes.
stuff, and it cuts off very rapidly. But it's a really interesting historical context as well. So we're going back to the 14th century, and it is a legendary tale, as I said, all sorts of stories associated with Jeanne, but she did exist. It's a wild ride. Some of the folk tales or exaggerated whispers about her, if they slip in, what's the harm?
Oh, yeah, well, indeed.
Because they've been written down. So who was Jeanne? She was born Jeanne-Louise de Belleville in Belleville, France, in 1300. So it makes her age really easy to work
That's
out.
quite a long time ago.
1300, my friend, yes. She was born to a noble, wealthy family. So she was born in Belleville. She is of Belleville. Oh, money.
Yes.
She's not a duke's daughter or anything, but she's a fairly
Respectable.
respectable, like, wealthy daughter. Her father was Maurice the Fourth of Belleville, Belleville/Montaigu, Montaigu, and her mother was Lettice de Parthenay of Breton.
Okay.
There's a lot of French names in this. I'm
I
gonna do
would
my
imagine
best.
so. We're in France,
Wouldn't
so-
you think? Wouldn't you think?
Surprising that.
Actually, those were the hardest. Everything else is fine from now on. I'm sorry for my pronunciations if I get them wrong. The family dabbled in salt farming, Nick. As
Okay.
we've established, best condiment
Well, yes, it's true.
in our pre-episode chat. We were like,
People
oh
need
yeah,
the
salt.
salt.
They love their salt. Salt farming. Another source said like winemaking, and I really do think they just went, oh, they're French. Wine, probably.
probably.
Yes, probably wine.
Onions, garlic. They made berets.
Yes, they would not
And
off their
stripy jumpers.
bicycles at 1 minute. It was like, well, no.
Wasn't she a Breton?
She's a Breton.
Yeah,
she's a
stripy
Breton dog,
jumper.
but she invented it.
She was there weaving away.
I don't know. There's a lot of thin girls just standing around going, "Oh my god, this is so easy to pull off." Yeah, no, salt farming mainly, but other things they also control. But where they were in Belleville, they managed a lot of the merchants, the shipping to the area, so that they're wealthy, well-established family. Now, otherwise, not much is known about her childhood.
Well, it was a long time ago.
Pretty comfortable in medieval times and everything. It's before the plagues.
Before all the death.
That will come into the story, don't worry. A bit. It's a side
I should
player.
hope so.
But decent, nice, medieval, noble life. Turnips for all. Sorry, it's France, so I don't know. White asparagus for all.
Baguettes.
Baguettes. Did they have baguettes in the 1300s? I don't think they had white asparagus. I don't think they were dealing that out in jars to everyone.
Truffles
and
foie
for
gras for
all.
all.
We
And
don't
cakes. They had a lot of cakes in France, didn't they?
We don't have foie gras yet, so here's a goose. There we are. Huge trade, obviously. The first sort of important time we hear about Jeanne is when she gets married. Oh, when she's 12. Ew.
That's the style of the time.
Style at the time. She's married age 12 to 19-year-old Geoffrey de Chateaubriand the 8th.
Isn't that kind of meat?
It is a type of steak.
Yes.
He's not a type of steak.
Is he
Nick.
not?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. You can understand there's a distinction there. Oh, fancy.
Fine.
Oh, notions.
A distinction.
Yes. I could have put a Chateaubriand as the secret ingredient, but we wouldn't have had this lovely cocktail. We would have just been eating steak the whole time.
Oh no, what a shame.
Let's get steak after this.
Let's
It'd be
get
nice. So, Geoffrey, get sexy name,
Geoffrey.
Chateaubriand. So he'd already been married once.
At 19?
At
he's already
19.
married?
Oh, he's an old maid at that
Yeah.
point. He'd been married once, had a child, I think, as well.
Okay.
But yes, they were married off. They would go on to have 2 children. They waited a bit. Not long. She's 14. They basically kind of went, puberty, off to the marriage shop with you. So they had a son, another Geoffrey, and daughter Louise. Now, hubby was away a lot.
Yes.
19-year-old Geoffrey, 20-year-old, oh yes, off to
Fighting wars and battles and things.
well,
and
sort of wars at the time. At this time, there's a lot of
killing
sort of
peasants.
there's a lot of conversations that are happening that are getting quite heated, and
Yes.
getting quite heated and sort of battles back and forth.
Yes.
So he's off dealing with that in France. So them going, should we do something? I don't know.
Should we go to war, shall we?
Should we go to war? But then she would look after his estates.
Yes.
And this isn't uncommon for medieval women, especially noble women. They would be looking after the estates, they'd be managing the finances, they've been managing everything. And so at the age of, 13, 14, she's in charge of everything.
Yes.
And she's learning all of these skills while the wars and the battles rage on outside or the heavy conversations. She's not sitting there looking cute, she's working.
No.
Now, hubby number 1 dies in battle. So she has 4 years of marriage, 2 kids. And she's like, okay.
Okay.
So at this point, she apparently marries a chap named Guy de Pontrivre.
Pontivre.
Marries Guy. Well, Guy, it would be said at the time. Guy de Pontrivre. Don't laugh at me, I'm trying.
It's getting worse every time.
He is the son of the Duke of Brittany.
Okay.
So Guy, really good marriage. That is a good prospect. Now, Jeanne at this time, she has obviously inherited her husband's estate. Some of them go to her children. There's a sort of that sort of deal there. But she's wealthy. She's a good prospect. She's not really high.
No, but she's got
but
decent
she's
prospects.
high enough. And Guy is good material. The son of the Duke of Brittany. Brittany is a massive deal right now, especially in conversations that will happen later. This marriage, though, is not included in the accounts of her life because it was officially annulled by Pope John the 22nd.
Okay.
Now, Jeanne is from a good family, but Duke of Brittany's son, yeah, everyone wants a piece of that. So it's thought that this is a sort of Game of Thrones style sort of political
Yes.
moving, as in, you married off to her. No, actually, we need him to marry someone else in one of the other houses. So the different regions, the different areas, the House of Blois, you have, they're sort of like angling in, going, this Jeanne, you may be in love with her, she may be hot, but no. So the marriage gets annulled. He would go on and Guy would marry into the Blois family. But it's okay.
Okay.
Because when they get separated, she eventually goes on to marry hubby number 3. Well, 2 officially.
2 officially, yes.
And that is Oliver IV de Clisson. Oliver the
Oliver.
4th of Clisson. Now, he's wealthy. He has lands aplenty. Aplenty. He had the Chateau de Clisson. It's still standing. You can go and see it. It's very pretty. Big house in Nantes.
Nice.
A little chateau in the Loire.
Always handy.
Oh, it's lovely. He's a big deal. He's okay. Now, he has a son from a previous marriage. She has 2 kids from a previous marriage. Mm-hmm. They both own land. They're very well suited. She insisted on a very hefty prenup.
Okay.
Equivalent of before they got married. She's a savvy woman.
Yeah.
She comes into the marriage like, great, this is going to be a good meeting of land.
Yes.
Power share. But you need to provide for my kids. And for my kids from the first marriage, they need to be written into your will. You need to be giving them a share of the estate. I won't have them disinherited. She makes this very, very clear when she goes in.
Okay.
And yeah, it's all good. All good. They come into it. Together they have 5 kids in total. Isabeau, Maurice, Oliver, the 5th. He would later be known as Oliver the Butcher.
Jolly.
We don't have his story, but you can imagine what happened. We also have Guillaume and another Jeanne, another daughter. And it's a happy union, apparently. They were in love, they were very cordial, only very minor legal disputes between them through their marriage. Yeah, as any good marriage should
What's
have.
a minor legal dispute between friends?
What's a little bit of court action against lovers?
Exactly.
Yeah, Jean did take Oliver to court because he hadn't been fulfilling his promises, his verbal promises that he'd made about the earnings of his estate, providing for his stepchildren, and also some dowry that was owed to her as well. Witnesses were called to court. Even, I think, witnesses from her previous marriage, that acquaintance that she still had, came in and was like, no, he owes her money.
Okay.
And King Philip VI himself of France, he said, like, no, funds in her favour. Said, pay up, Oliver. You gotta be good. They continue to be married and happy and everything, but just take each other to court a lot. Apparently, they were both
It's
taking.
the thing that's done.
Yeah, no, it was just the style. Well, it wasn't really the style at the time.
not really.
It's not that it wasn't the style at the time. It was just that she's a great example of that you could exercise this control. She could rock up and go, paperwork, there we are. I want this sealed. Apparently, there was a case pursued against her by her ex-sister-in-law, I believe it was, who'd gone to a convent because she'd inherited her previous husband's money. And her and Oliver were taken to court saying, you need to pay the ex-sister-in-law. And because she definitely shirked on that. She was like, oh, no, I don't want to. But also she was like, I have 5 kids. Like, leave me alone.
Yes.
Go away. Well, 7 kids. And by the end of it, meh. But happy times of laughter and children and legal battles. These were all set to come to a dramatic end.
No.
No, it was such an idyllic life.
It's going so well.
For we have entered, Nick, the 100 Years' War.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
That's less good.
It's not great.
Not an ideal time to be French.
Now, Nick, what's your knowledge of the 100 Years' War?
Well, it was about 88 years long or something like that. It wasn't 100
Oh,
years.
Nick, if it was only that simple. It was 116 years long.
Years. I knew it wasn't 100.
It wasn't 100. It was very much rounded down by
Yes.
historians way later.
Yes, English and French don't
Yep.
much like each other. Mm-hmm. Lots of battles, lots of archers.
Very good. Yeah. Oh, nice knowledge. Yeah.
Battle
Okay.
of, is it Cressy and Agincourt?
Agincourt.
All those ones. Black Prince, he was around.
He was.
He was bumbling along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other names you want to throw in?
With Joan of Arc,
Yes, we
she's
have Joan of Arc.
bumbling along as well.
Well done. You've done all the big ones.
Right, okay.
That's all anyone was asking for there. Yes, the 100 Years' War,
The
1330.
Seas of Orleans.
Orleans, yes, the siege, 1337
Yeah.
to 1453. The 100 Years' War was given as a name by historians later on because it's a very important period in medieval history. as historians would have you think. And also it was. But also they went 100 Years' War, and they were like, that's a much better number.
But it does sound more dramatic. It's like the 116 Years' War.
116 Years' War.
But 100 Years' War sounds...
Rounded around.
Yeah, it sounds
and
good.
they do justify it because there were a period of truces.
Yes.
And also the Black Death.
There was some lulls in
Yes,
there.
there were lulls in the activity.
Yes, it wasn't constant warfare for 100 years.
Of that. Essentially, you can sort of describe the 100 Years' War of England, France, and France going, can I have that bit of France? Is that your... I think I should have some of it. I don't know.
like that bit of France.
Yeah, I like that. Englishkins going, are we all actually French? Because we kind of are, sort of from William, the Conqueror. Or like, but
So can I have that bit?
Can I have that? We've got that bit. We've got Aquitaine. I'm joking about, can I be Lord of Aquitaine? And that'll be my big victory. But then we have land and we want more of it. And then France going, well, no, actually, no, you've raised a good point. No, actually, we would like this and we'd like to control it. And it escalates from, it would be really simple to be able to say it was just like England wanted to rule France and France wanted to rule England. It wasn't that at all. It's all about territories. It's all about the French trying to retain their territories and England wanting more of it. And much more nuance than I could possibly go into. I do think it's
Tim when you need him.
Yeah, Tim would spend about 6 hours on this. I think
This is true.
I think it's called the 100 Years' War because I feel like I spent 100 years reading one paragraph.
It would also be the 100-year episode.
It would. I did listen to a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff about. I know a lot about the 100 Years' War now that I'm not going to include because it's a bit like who and what and why, all of that. The war sort of begins when Edward III and his mother Isabella of France, great figure by the way, claiming the French throne when Charles IV of France dies without heirs in 1328 because Isabella was his sister and she married Edward II of England and girls can't have the throne. But Edward III said, oh no, I'm her son and so I can claim it through the mother's line. And then France goes, no, Charles had a cousin called Philip and he gets it, and then lots of fighting.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Pretty much. Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. That's the start. That's how it starts. And they've all been, as I said, like in the early 1300s, they've been mutterings, and everyone betraying each other. The Black Prince, you have Henry V's victory at Agincourt, made famous by Shakespeare.
Yes.
Everyone goes, yeah, Agincourt. And then you go, oh no, he died 2 years later. Joan of Arc with a banner.
She was there.
She was there flapping about, being saintly. Yeah, and the English longbow.
Yes.
Yeah, so you pointed out the longbow.
Yes.
What do you know of that?
It shot
Just
a lot
for
of people.
fun, by the way.
It shot a lot of people.
That's it.
French knights didn't much like it.
Was better than the crossbow.
It was a faster rate of fire
Yes, and
than you can do with a crossbow.
And more accurate for piercing French for armor piercing. So the longbow had its heyday. It was really the style of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then the French were using crossbows.
Yes.
Which kind of go ping.
Because crossbows you don't need much training to use.
No.
Whereas longbows, you needed a lot of skill to use it, but if you could use it well, you were fucking brilliant.
Yeah, and they trained and trained.
Well, there was a law like everyone must practice their longbow on a Sunday type thing. It was one of those random weird laws. They probably still exist to this day or something like that. One of those weird ones.
Believe there is still a law in Canterbury. There was until recently, but there was a law for a very long time in Canterbury that you can still shoot a Frenchman with a longbow from the walls of the city we live in. Yeah. So we won't be practicing that.
All those weird sorts of things. But yes, so very effective against heavily armoured French.
Yes, because it could pierce the armour compared to the crossbow bolts. So yeah, and it also like that rain of
and
arrow fire, terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's also where the flipping the V's comes from.
Well, apparently not. I think
does it
not?
No,
I think some people say it does. Some people will say that's apocryphal. That's not the case.
I didn't dive into it. There was there was the old legend that it was
the old wives' tale that if you're English or Welsh, but a lot of them were Welsh.
Yes,
longbowmen. If you got captured by the French, they would cut your fingers off so you could never shoot an arrow again. And that's where flipping the V, because that's just showing you got your fingers. But I think that is generally being debunked as actually didn't happen. Yeah,
because I heard a version of it that it was the English flipping the V's going, we are longbowmen and you have crossbows. Yeah. So we are more skilled. It was to go like, oh, look what we can do. And also the cutting off of fingers. And then it was the flipped side of victory, like that. Yeah.
But how true that was, a lot of people say it actually now it didn't happen.
But if you're in England, I think in America it's not a thing. It's not a thing in America, is it?
I have no idea.
I don't believe it's a thing in America of flipping the V's at someone,
Yes.
but by all means adopt it, but also research it beforehand. You could be offending a lot of people. But there you go. The 100 Years' War rages and rages and rages. In the end, France win, pretty much. But the important thing is Britain got Calais.
Exactly. Got some nice territory there.
Oh, yeah. Well, England got Calais.
Yeah.
Yeah, Calais. Thank God. Thank God for those large supermarkets.
Exactly. Thank God for that. Duty-free booze.
Booze cruise. We have Calais, people. Oh, no, no. Well, it was important for them. It was a big port. So do look into the 100 Years' War if you want to. Maybe talk to Tim Cloak from Tim Cloak's History. It's a lot of stuff. It's not that fascinating, but you get some pockets of brilliance in there.
Yeah, you get some good bits in there, some good battles.
But I set the scene not merely because I'm padding. It's it's not. No, I'm not. I'm joking. The context is important so you know what happens to Jeanne and what leads her down such a badass path. In 1341, the War of Succession has started. So we're a fair few years into her marriage with Oliver, and the Breton War of Succession is the battle for which house in France should control Brittany. Very important spot. So the previous duke had died without an heir. So now the House of Blois and the House of Montfort are battling to control the region. Blois supported by the French, Montfort supported by the English. Mm-hmm. So all contributes to the power struggle overall for the war. So Oliver de Clisson, Jeanne's husband, chooses his side as a noble baron, and he's going to support Blois. He's going to go with the French. Jeanne's going to stay at home managing the estates, obviously, as she did. And he's going to be like a leader in the battle there. One of his brothers apparently was on the English side. So everyone was fighting each other.
Brother against brother.
Brother against brother. Funnily enough, Charles de Blois, he married the daughter of Guy, the one that Jeanne was annulled from.
Right.
Yeah. So, they'd face each other later, maybe.
Maybe.
So Oliver is joining the battle. He is instrumental commanding the forces at Vannes, an area of France, and the English attempt to capture it 4 times. There's a siege there in 1342. The English eventually succeed. Oliver is captured by the English, along with some others. Now, Oliver is released, though.
All right.
Doesn't take long after his capture for him to be released.
Well, because they paid the ransom.
Ransom very low.
Okay.
Very low sum. It was remarked. Now, maybe that is gossip and slander, but they merely asked for an exchange for a prisoner and said ransom, and they set it really low for Oliver, and he's out. He's not captive long.
So I think he's not worth much.
Well, the King of France seems to think that Oliver might have been working with the English.
Yes, a bit too low.
Too low. Too easy for him to get out. Okay, very, very kind of like, well, maybe we need to make an example of this Oliver. So we go very Game of Thrones country. It's not quite the Red Wedding, but the English and the French signed a truce in 1343. And a grand tournament is organised to celebrate. And Oliver de Clisson and 15 other Breton nobles are invited to this big party. And they make their merry way along. They're dressed up, big hair, big tunics.
Nice.
Yeah, tunics,
Who
big
doesn't
thing
love
at the
a
time.
tunic?
Who doesn't? They are making their way. But on their way to the tournament, we don't even get to the tournament, sadly. I'd love it if there was more tournament action in this. But they are accosted by French soldiers who take them to Paris. They take them into custody. And Oliver is placed on trial for treason. Now, Jeanne hears of her husband's imprisonment. She does all she can to try and free him. She starts wrangling legal battles, arguments to try and stay any kind of prosecution against him. She ends up bribing the guards who are guarding him, trying to help him sneak out, trying to push away the execution day if it's going to come. One sergeant is found guilty of accepting bribes, and so she, in turn, is accused of rebellion and excesses against the king. Now, Jeanne flees. She doesn't stay around in Paris.
No.
If she was ever in Paris, like she was probably sending messages, going, get him out. She's like, nope, and then runs away to a castle with friends. She is tried in absentia and she is found guilty, but she's not there to face her punishment. So she evades capture, she runs away, but Oliver is still very much in jail and he is found guilty of treason. It's a kangaroo court.
Yeah.
There's no real hard evidence. It seems to be King Philip wants to make an example of him, is whatever he's thinking about it. A lot of people feel very badly about how Oliver was treated.
But he's the king.
Well, he's a king. He can do what he wants. Now, there's a report in the Law of Treason and Trials in later medieval France, which is a Cambridge Studies book. In the year of our grace, 1343, on Saturday, the 2nd of August, it does get quicker after this, Oliver, Lord of Clisson, knight prisoner of the Chalet of France, for several treasons and other crimes perpetrated by him against the King and Crown of France for alliances that he made with the King of England. And there on the scaffold had his head cut off. From there his corpse was drawn to the gibbet of Paris, and there hanged on the highest level, and his head was sent to Nantes in Brittany, and put on a lance over the city's gate as a warning to others. So Oliver is not only executed for treason, his body is desecrated. His body is treated worse than a common thief would have been treated. His head is separated from his body, he is put in the gibbet, and his head is put on a spike.
Yeah.
Bit of a strong move, bit much. But what does Jeanne do? Her husband is dead, her children's lives are at risk, her lands are going to be taken. But now we get this famous image of her that emerges, this legendary image. She takes her young sons to Nantes, where her husband's head is on a spike. And this is weeks later. She takes them and she stands under and she looks up at the bloated, gross head.
Yes, rather decomposed now.
Of husband, daddy.
Yes.
Makes her children look at it.
Look at this crow-pecked head.
Look at this. And she stands there in front of everyone with her children, with her two sons, Oliver and Guillaume, and she makes them swear an oath of vengeance, a blood oath of vengeance against King Philip VI and for all of his lords of what they have done to her husband, to her family. She will have her vengeance. And I think that's time for a drink.
Oh God, yes, the drama.
Nick, we have our drinks.
We do.
You have some more wine.
More wine.
I have some gin and tonic and the rest of my cocktail, which is delicious.
Delicious cocktail.
I would have made more of those, but I need to read words.
Yes, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, that is. Jeanne de Clisson.
Jean.
She is now on the clock. She wants her revenge. Her husband is dead. The king is already taking her estates to gain more control and more cash for the 100 Years' War effort.
Yes.
He didn't know it was called 100 Years' War, by the way.
At that point, no.
No. He wasn't going, like, serious. They're calling it 100 years? I don't have enough money. But she's not going to sit around waiting for an idea.
No.
She instantly sells everything she has. Whatever estate she has left, she sells.
Okay.
She sells all of her possessions, all of her jewelry, all of her finery, everything. She raises every penny she can.
Needs cash.
She needs the cash. So she's not sort of waiting to plead with people. It's like, no, get rid of it. And she's not going to just survive, though. It's not just to go away and live a peaceful life with her sons. No, she's going to thrive, Nick.
Nice.
She raises, with this money, a small army.
Brilliant.
Of 400 men.
Okay.
400 good, loyal men from Brittany who will follow her. And she then just starts attacking the shit out of Brittany, of various places. You know, they're not the biggest military strongholds, but she is going to make a point. She is going to find places that she sides with the Montfort house. She sides with the English. Yep. She makes it very clear that they have her allegiance. And she begins a reign of vengeance on French troops around the area. So any chateau that is aligned with the French, that has, the French troops staying there, or they have their own sort of band of people. She leads an attack on the castle at Tuffeux. I maybe pronounced that wrong, but it is spelled that way. Tuffeux. She goes to the castle, the chateau. It says she sidles up to the chateau and she goes to the gates.
How does one sidle up to a chateau?
It's just her.
Very nonchalantly.
Just very, very demure, very mindful.
Okay.
But it's just her.
Just her.
She turns up at the gates and's like, hello, Tuffeux. And
It's
they
me,
look, it's
Jean.
me. They do. She does. Apparently, she does. She knocks on the gate or the knocker or the gargoyle, whatever's there, hangs on a tree, like, hello. And the chateau, oh, it's Jean. Oh my God, I love you. Oh, I know you so well. Like, the owner of the chateau is like, yeah, oh my God, it's you, just Jean. Come in. Opens the gate, and all of her army
I
swarm.
like that. It's like Trojan horse Jean.
Yeah, that's it. Her just rocking up like, I'm just a poor little woman.
She's got the in, hasn't she?
Yeah.
So,
They just opens the door and the troops swarm out of the trees, they say. Or they were all hiding behind, all 400 men were hiding behind her in a big line. And they were idiots. And they just were like, weird perspective. Yeah. They swarm the chateau and she wreaks vengeance on them. On her command, they kill everyone in the chateau.
Nice.
They burn the place. They strip it of every valuable possible. And she has everyone slaughtered in front of her, but she leaves one person.
Because who's going to tell the tale?
To tell the tale that Jeanne de Clisson is responsible for this. And she walks away and she does
Laughing. I'm imagining the burning chateau in the background.
Very much, you can picture it. There's all sorts of great websites and everything that cover her story, and they do sketches of it. I think it's like Rejected Princesses and things. The great comic book style that they do, and they have this scene where it's just like a pile of bodies and fire, and her just standing in front of it. And people are like, yeah, let's go with that. Slaughters everyone, let them know who committed this massacre. Word is soon spreading of this vicious woman tearing up the French forces. She goes from other chateaux. Again, she brings her band of army. She absolutely wreaks havoc there. And as the word spreads, the king hears about this. And he goes, okay, well, we need to stop her. We need to put her down. We need to stop her. So we're going to assemble, big forces and go and get her. And she's like, okay, fine. You can do that. I'm going to move off land. I'm going to go to sea.
I'm going to get a boat.
Oh, she's going to get a boat. She's going to go to England first. She's going to sail to England. Now, people muddy the order of these events, but it does seem that at this point, after she's fucked some shit up on land in France, sails over to England. She's got money. She's raided enough places. She's got money. She's got her own money. But she goes over and she requests an audience, apparently, with Edward III and Jeanne de Montfort as well, who is in allegiance with the king.
Yes.
And she offers her allegiance. And she says if they will bolster her funds, if they will add to her funds so she can raise a fleet, it will be the most fearsome of the seas. The world will never have seen such like, and she will turn the water red with the blood of her enemies and her voyage of vengeance.
Love it.
And the king goes, okay.
Yeah, fine. That sounds great.
She didn't say that, I said it. But I'm pretty sure that's what she would have said at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think she turned up and went, money please.
Money please.
Yes. But yeah, something like that. Very rousing.
Yeah.
And Philip's like, oh my God. Like, she had a weird energy. But she's kind of hot. I like it. Yeah, okay. So he's like, take money, fuck shit up. I don't care. And she does. And apparently she goes out and she buys 3 former merchant ships.
Yeah.
Now she uses merchant ships in particular. They're faster. And she kits them out. The hulls are painted black.
Nice.
Black as with pitch. The sails are dyed red.
Brilliant.
And her big red, blood red sails are the first sight of her across the seas. It is named the Black Fleet.
Yes.
And her ship is called My Revenge, which is a bit on the nose.
It is, it's like My Revenge. Just call it Revenge.
Well,
but My Revenge is...
Many reports are it's My Revenge, and others go, no, it was just called Revenge, and then there's another one that goes Vengeance, and then it descends into Return of the Mac, and Murder Vessel, and The Happy Squirrel, The Greatest Poison of them all, blah, 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 blah. But yes, there's lots of stuff down the side of her boat, but it's these these 3 black ships with blood red sails are seen sailing across the water. Now she targets the French coast, she does the Bay of Biscay, and later the English Channel. Her plan is to attack any French commerce ships. She's not looking to engage with the navy and with the massive warships. I mean, the warships couldn't match her, they couldn't have outrun them, but she's going to stop commerce and trade. That's the means of war.
Yep.
Stop the supplies, stop the money. And it's a terrifying sight, no doubt. I mean, loads of people paint it. And again, there's so many reports that go she sailed out of the fog with her red sails appearing up to the ship. And I'm sure there was sea fog sometimes.
Yes.
Also, there's probably a lot of very sunny, bright days, and it's very far away. Like, oh, there's a ship over there.
There's 3 ships over there coming quite fast.
I mean, that is quite terrifying still, like, oh, shit. Yeah. But also, there we are. Like, they're very slowly coming towards us. Oh, no, actually, that's quite fast. But yeah, or the fog business is like, you can't guarantee sea fog. If she was waiting for sea fog the whole time, it would be like, oh, early in the morning, maybe. But yeah, there we are. So with each attack, she would target these ships. Apparently, the crew had all the traditional pirate gear.
Nice.
So they had the grappling hooks,
As one
so they
does.
could swing on swords and daggers, all ready to go. They were all primed. As soon as they came upon the ships, they cornered them, they would swarm on board, and they would start grabbing the prisoners, killing anyone who got in their way or anything. They'd drag them together. Jeanne would appear on deck as the prisoners were rounded up, and she was said to be carrying an axe. She came walking with her axe, and she would single out the highest ranking crew of any nobles who happened to be on board these ships. If they were trade ships, cargo, and someone was travelling aboard, she would find the nobles, and she would behead them in front of everyone, showing that it doesn't matter your rank or your nobility, you have no quarter.
No one is safe.
No. Cut their heads off, and then she would kick the bodies overboard into the sea.
Nice.
And again, she would command the ship was stripped of all valuables. Every member of the crew should be killed except one to tell the story of Jeanne de Clisson. She became known as the Lioness of Brittany. That was the name that was spread around.
God.
She was also called the Tragic Widow in Paris.
Yeah, well, she would be then, wouldn't she? Because it's like...
Yeah, they were like, she's so tragic.
The poor lady, overreacting again.
The Parisians were, oh my God, I don't even care. Whereas everyone else goes, she's the Lioness of Brittany.
Does remind me of the Chinese pirate lady.
Yeah, see?
Xing
Xing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, bloody vengeance being spread and everyone going, oh shit. 13 years she would spend at sea waging her war against the French, attacking ships, occasionally taking to land to destroy French fortresses or supply spots on the coast. Anyone had suspicion, no, fuck that shit up. Or if there was a battle going on, she would sail close to deliver supplies to the English forces. Yeah. So yeah, she was weaving along. I mean, like, how you can chart her voyage, no one really knows.
Yeah,
this is the same with all pirates. Now, she's called a pirate. She was called a privateer and she was called a pirate at different points. And she's often listed on sides up there with Anne Bonny and the likes. The fact is she was never officially registered as a privateer because as a privateer, you would be. As a pirate, okay, fine. It's all stories, really. And everyone going, oh, my God. And her living, people living to tell the tale of having run into her. But there is one famous story where the French managed to engage her ships in battle. The French Navy is sent out in 1348 and they found her fleet and a huge battle ensued. And apparently Jeanne stood firm. They returned fire. They had some cannon, probably. Hopefully they had one. Yeah. They were battling away, but it's the French Navy rather than commerce ships.
No, they wouldn't have done at that point.
No, oh God, no, it isn't.
This is before artillery and stuff. This is just long. Yeah, this is just longbows and crossbows on deck.
Well, crossbows against each other, like maybe they borrowed some longbows,
then board and hack each other to pieces.
Yeah.
So this is before cannon.
Exactly. Yeah. So the French Navy are just there, just like throwing shit and everything at them. So French Navy much bigger, and they have more people behind them. And it was said in these tales and legends that Jeanne was on the ship and she kept fighting, refused to back down. Like most of her crew was dead at this point, apart from her two sons who were with her. And right at the last, she boards a lifeboat. Some say it was just with the two boys. Some say some crew came with her, like a handful, like 6 crew members came. And the French Navy get onto the ship, and she is rowed off into the distance. And she would row away into the English Channel, and they would be adrift for 5 or 6 days. And some have it that Jeanne is rowing the whole time. It's freezing cold. There's no food or water. Her youngest son, Guillaume, dies of exposure in the rowboat. They keep sailing, they keep fighting. He does not survive. But she eventually gets into friendly waters around Brittany. Rather than throw his corpse overboard, she keeps it with them, and she finally lands. She finds friends, allies, and they are able to take them in, give them food, water, and shelter, and she's able to bury her son. And she would continue to go out onto the seas after that, but that was the closest she came to capture.
Wow.
But she still evaded them, allegedly.
Yeah.
And it's a very hypocritical kind of story, as in, like, she rowed
for 5 days,
but what the Navy didn't catch her, like, you're there basically. But no, they couldn't possibly.
It was foggy.
Foggy. She came by fog.
And I have just googled cannons.
Yes.
And apparently, 100 Years' War was the first recorded use of cannon in naval battle.
Oh.
Was in 1338.
At this time.
With the English ship Christopher was armed with 3 cannons and 1 gun.
One gun.
one handgun and three cannon. And that was the extent of the first time cannons were used in naval warfare in Europe.
Well, I think then. So let's assume.
So assuming it wouldn't have been widely available.
It wouldn't have been on her ship.
No.
Wouldn't have been on the French ships.
Probably unlikely.
No. So lots of slapping.
Lots of slapping and shooting
And stabbing.
at people
And stabbing. Shoving.
and bows.
And so that. Yeah, and bows.
Lots
So,
of cannons
yes.
in China at this point.
Oh,
Not
they were. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have hundreds.
They were
of
doing
years.
very well.
Yes,
They were doing
but
very
not,
well.
Not in Europe. Oh yeah, I learned a new thing. I learned many new things.
Many new things. So after that incident, yes, she has this reign on the seas for 13 years during this time. But then her story suddenly abruptly ends.
Okay.
We know so much about all of her stories on the high seas, but the records kind of just go,
Oh, she's gone.
It's not that she's gone, it's just she sort of downs tools. She stops.
Okay.
For some reason. So King Philip VI dies in 1350, and many people think that he was her great enemy.
Yeah, he was the one to revenge against.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay, I've done enough. I just want to settle down
At some
now."
point, you do need to go, that's enough revenge.
Yes, enough revenging.
Yeah.
So maybe she wants to spend time with her children. At some point in the 1350s as well, she marries Walter Bentley, who was an English knight. He had been serving in the 100 Years' War. He owns many castles in England and Brittany. He's very wealthy. He does very, very, very well. So when they had met and when they had hooked up, they married in the 1350s, but they may have known each other for a while. He was quite instrumental in helping to wrestle some of her lands back from control of a French knight. I think maybe before they were married, actually. The dates are a little bit fuzzy. There was a French knight called Raoul de Coeur. Raoul, let's just call him that. Who was fighting for who was fighting on the English side. And Walter said, no, you need to give the lands back to my girlfriend. And Raoul was so annoyed that he joined the French. He was like, and they were all like, well, you were French in the first place, mate.
Yeah.
So, like, you're being a bit of a dick, quite frankly. And again, the King of England tried to get Jeanne and Bentley to surrender her castles to Brittany. And they dug in. They were like, no, we won't give up. And then really that ended with them going, you know what? We're tired.
Yeah.
And the Black Death is happening.
I just want to put my feet up for a
I
bit.
just want to put my feet up. I just want to chill out. Yeah, the Black Death hitting is probably where her story gets cut off. I'm making that assumption a bit.
Your crew is going to be, you have trouble getting crew. That's going to be difficult.
This is the sort of the blank period where suddenly Black Death hits and everyone goes, oh my God, we can't fight anymore for a bit, and everyone's dying. So Jeanne does die in 1360. In the early part of 1360, her husband has died just before that, at the end of 1359. But she dies at Himbo Castle. And her legend, though, would live on. Jeanne de Clisson, the Lioness of Brittany.
That's very good.
There you are.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh, you like a good piratey.
I like a good piratey story.
And a bit of history, a bit of people going,
history, a bit of pirate. I learned something about a cannon.
There you are.
Yeah. Good story.
Yeah, you always think kind of like at that time period, like, oh, there are plenty of resources, but they just go, a thing happened.
Yes.
And then there's resources where you go, you're making the shit up. Right, okay. But loads of stories about her, loads of legends, and often mentioned in the same bracket is like Giulia Tofana. So people talk about badass women from over the years and all these legendary stories about what she did. But, she definitely did fight against the French. I mean, she sided with the English after her husband was killed. And this was a very muddy, murky time. But it was a murky time for everyone.
Well,
but she was one of the figures who emerged and had this reputation of the Lioness of Brittany.
Yeah. Oh, it reminds me of that. There was I might do an episode. It might be a Patreon episode.
Okay.
There's. I don't know if it's the same sort of time. It might have been slightly earlier. I think it was a Queen or
Isabella of France.
No, there's a woman she's Ukrainian, and she's like something of Kiev.
Yes,
Olga
I do know what you mean. Olga
that.
of Kiev.
And her husband is killed horribly, and she goes on a rampage of brutal, bloody murder across sort of Eastern Europe.
Yes.
This is like 1300s, 1400s, something like that as well.
Yeah.
And she goes completely berserk.
She's been
seeking revenge.
sent to us a few times as well, and people go and do it. And it's hard because I think I've glanced at the story and it's kind of like, that's the story.
That's the story. It's
like, we can try and flesh it out.
Yeah.
We could throw some shit in there.
exactly.
It's fine.
But it's those type of characters who are like, wow, we need more of this.
Yeah, no, they're brilliant. They're brilliant characters. I think Isabella of France looked briefly, I knew about her before, but looked briefly into her history while doing this. And I was like, I can't get involved in her right now. But the She-Wolf, she was called. Fascinating figure. Again, often forgotten, I think. But all of the work that she did, it's Elizabeth I kind of proportion. She did all sorts of political kind of maneuvering, and she had lovers, and she betrayed people, and then she aligned with different people all to maneuver stuff in France. In this period there's loads of great figures. Unfortunately, as we said, a lot of the resources are just like, and they did this thing, and that's it.
That's it.
There's no questions.
And then they die.
And then they die. Well, what do you think, people? What do you think of the story of Jeanne de Clisson, the Lioness of Brittany? What do you think of the legend around her? Have you heard different stories about her? And what do you think of the history? Did you want to hear more about the 100 Years' War? It's a lot. It's a lot of people in there. But fearsome, badass women taking revenge. That is one hell of a story of a woman who just went, absolutely not, I'm going to kill you because you've wronged me. And I think we can all relate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we can. So tell us what you think. Jump on the comments of this episode. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your musings. But most importantly, while you do muse, you must mix up a
Shaking Sailor.
Shaking Sailor.
It's damn good.
Oh, it was so good,
Very
Nick.
nice indeed.
That was
So
one of the
yes.
best in a while.
Yep. So that will be out, very soon. So
Very soon.
Mix them up if you can. Yeah, definitely give it a go. Really good.
Put it on your Christmas list.
Put it in your Christmas list.
I mean,
Great. I'm going to make that a Christmas.
Do. Oh
Yeah.
my God, take that to the family.
Exactly. Don't say the family Christmas. That's going to get a treat.
Oh, I'm going to order some pimento dram, actually. How much is pimento dram?
It's not expensive. It's like 30 quid or so. 25,
It's like
30 quid.
It's a high-end-ish, It's like...
But
it's
it will
not-
last you a lifetime. It will last you
a
absolutely.
lifetime.
It will last
It
you
will last a long
you
time.
use it very sparingly.
Yeah.
Not frequently. So it will last you a long time.
Yeah.
Unless you're knocking back shots of it. Which
Well, I think it's a good one to get at Christmas. It's the same way that you get the bottle of Baileys at Christmas and everything. It will last for Christmas.
indeed.
Delicious. Send us more suggestions of stories we can be covering in the future. Any areas of history we've touched on this episode, let us know if you'd like to hear more about it. Do join us on Patreon if you want to get more from the Poisonous Cabinet every single week. We also have our merch store. We have links to that on our website, thepoisanouscabinet.com. If you want to buy something for someone you love or someone you hate for Christmas, you can adorn them in the finest of Poisonous Cabinet fashions and trinkets and accessories. Also consider a Patreon subscription as a gift as well, because we do annual subscriptions at a discount. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes if you love the show. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisonous Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.
For you.